This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Introducing LT Defense Tactical Gear, your ultimate solution for top-notch protection and performance in the field. Our armor bundles provide unmatched safety and comfort, while our battle belts and holsters ensure quick and easy access to your gear. Stay prepared for any situation with our high-quality medical supplies, designed to keep you ready for action at all times. Looking to enhance your skills? Our firearms training programs will take your proficiency to the next level. Trust LT Defense for all your tactical gear needs and gear up for success on the battlefield.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
All right, welcome. We are live here. This is Money in the Military. I have David Pere. I say that correct?
You did, and that's
right.
A hype moto video. I like it.
So this is Military Broadcast Radio, where we're giving veterans a voice. I just wanted to say thank you for everyone that's joining. Streaming on 7 different platforms right now. This is crazy. I don't know what's going on, but it's just really cool. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and Twitch, and all this other stuff. So just excited to be here with you today. How you doing, David?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah. This is pretty surreal. You know, I've been watching your videos for a while, and it's kind of like it's just weird. You know, I'm like I'm talking to you right now. You know, interviewing you after watching your videos. So this is kind of a surreal moment for me. But yeah, I'm just happy to tell your story. I've been doing a deep dive on your stuff and just really inspired by your story. So I know your story pretty well now, but this is a new audience potentially. How about you give us a quick rundown of your your rags to riches story, if you want to call it that, but your elevator pitch and just kind of give the audience a backstory of who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. In 2008, I joined the Marine Corps, not because I didn't have any other options, but because I wanted to see the world, and what better way to leave little old Podunk, Arkansas and see the world than to let Uncle Sam pay for it. It was the adventure of a lifetime, but I made all the normal financial mistakes that service members make, right? I bought the vehicles, the Harley, the tattoos, the firearms, the alcohol, the dates with women, and all the normal things you can blow money on. And I didn't have anything to show for it after 7 years of service. And, someone handed me Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and they told me to read it. And I told them I don't read. So they handed me a CD and said, listen to it while you drive. And I was like, well, they called my bluff. So, all right. And that book changed my life. It just took a boring subject, made it simple. And I was like, oh, I could do this. Why not? And I bought a duplex. I lived in one half. I rented the other half, and I was hooked. Once I moved out of that and it started cash flowing, I went to do it again and again. I mean, it just scaled. And so I went from, 7 years in the military, nothing to show. 5.5 years later, I had $1 million net worth, financial freedom, and really just been trying to focus on building out how to help other service members and vets make, the same decisions, but just avoid all the financial mistakes. Right. So yeah. The thing I've learned about military finance, right, is like the resources are there, but it doesn't mean that people are going to dig into them. And it doesn't mean that, they're going to make the right decisions. I mean, I made arguably one of the best and worst decisions ever. I invested in the TSP. I made, 10% on average over that 7 years. And then I messed it up because I didn't understand the funds. I left it in the G fund, which is where it
Oh,
used
yeah.
to default.
Yeah.
And I always tell people that as my example of like what I'm doing. I'm like, dude, if one person had sat me down and said, let me see how your TSP is set up. Hey,
Yeah.
why don't you try putting this money there? I would have had easily 3 times what I have it now in it. That just not knowing the difference in funds literally cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars because I just did I did all the right moves and didn't
Right.
know the difference in funds. And so I'm like, if I can just get one piece of advice to sink in with one vet and make them or save them a few thousand, 6 figures, whatever, like I'm good. I'm happy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so I wish people had done that for me, and I'm just trying to give it back.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that mission and that vision that you have. So you have a free ebook that you've got that basically kind of everything that you're putting out there for free for people essentially to learn some of the lessons that you've learned, and I really resonate with that. Part of my mission was when I was active duty, I became the finance guy. I was trying to be that money mentor, whether they wanted it or not. I was maybe a little forceful and annoying about it, but I was just like really passionate about like, I really want to help get to these people, especially the younger, like first, right out of basic training, those guys and gals. I really, really wanted to get to them. And what you're doing now, which is I really like, you're putting out a potential roadmap for other active duty members to kind of follow in your footsteps. So with that being said, what, if you're just, let's say you're an E5 or, you don't have to, it doesn't matter what rank to some extent, as you've said, but, if you were to start all over again, and you've said this in other videos, but what kind of a general advice would you give to an active duty member who wants to do what you are doing, basically?
Yeah, there's always context, but the first thing I would say right now is if you are in the blended retirement system and you're not contributing at least 5% to your thrift savings plan, you're making a huge mistake. And I don't care what anybody's going to sell you about how 401ks are dead, put your money with me or whatever. There is no investment that I know of on the planet where you can hand someone $5 and they will hand their own $5 in and say, we're so glad you contributed. We're going to do it too. And so to not have the matching contribution from the government is asinine. I mean, really. And unfortunately, people try to sell vet service members out of it. They're like, oh, there's so many better options, this, that. There might be a better option, depending on your skill set, than contributing over the matching contribution. Maybe, sure, I could get behind that argument. But I can't get behind the argument that anyone's going to outperform a guaranteed 100% return on investment day one backed by the government. Like, sorry. If there was an investment that could outperform that guaranteed day one, I would take that investment. But it's just not the case. So you should do that. And then you should really focus on education. There's a million ways to skin a cat, achieve financial freedom. There's the FIRE movement, which obviously in your name, right? You be as frugal. Well, there's multiple different ways to do FIRE. There's be as frugal as possible. There's fat FIRE. There's, there's also real estate investing, which I'm a huge fan of, but it involves more risk than some people are like. Some people don't like the idea of debt, and whether it's a good debt, bad debt, doesn't matter to them. They don't like debt. Debt is risk. There's business, there's building a business, there's side hustles, there's, so I would just encourage whoever's listening, pick up a few books. You can read my book. Like you mentioned, I sell it on Amazon, but I also give it away as a PDF for free to anybody who wants it on my website. There's my book. There's, if you're interested in stocks, there's Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. If you're interested in real estate investing, there's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. There's all the Bigger Pockets books. There's a million books out there. And I say books, there's podcasts, there's YouTube, there's whatever. Just spend some time. And I'm an audiobook fan. Like if I'm driving, spend some time that you're already doing not a whole lot and use it to educate yourself and figure out what kind of investment you like. And while you're doing that, just save some money because you're always going to be able to find investments down the road. And there's nothing that beats speed and or timing. And so the earlier you can start saving some money, the better off you'll be. And the earlier you can start learning about this, the better off you'll be. You really don't need to make any moves at an early age.
Yeah.
You know, some small contributions here and there will add up at an early age. It's funny, like, you know, we get into our 40s and 50s, it's like everything matters. But at 18, 20, it's like throw $10 at S&P 500, throw it at Apple, throw it at wherever. As long as you play the long game, you're going to win.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I'll make it automatic. I'm a big proponent of the automatic millionaire. That one was really big for me. Yeah, because I am personally not that disciplined with a lot of financial stuff. So I need that automation in order to counteract my own bad behaviors. So, automation is definitely a big thing. And then, starting early, man, like that's the big thing that I try to espouse in the younger generation is you don't have to put as much money away if you just do it early and do it automatically and often, you know? So that's like a hack that people they can't truly understand or appreciate sometimes until they actually see the compound interest effect in their bank account. So, I appreciate you saying that. And yeah, I mean, education is huge. The resources that we have right now, we didn't have 10, 20 years ago, you know, like the amount of financial content out there. And granted, you have to take some of it with a grain of salt. You know, it's not all created equal, but there's a lot of great financial content out there. And, you know, you just got to find your people, find where your niche is and then just run with it, you know? So, I definitely appreciate that. So we're going to take a quick break. And then whenever we come back, we'll continue our discussion with David Pere. Just stand by. Oh, this is our Marine Corps veteran, Noah Peterson, jazz musician. Really like his stuff. So here we go.
Love it.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
All right, we're back. This is Military Broadcast Radio, where we're giving veterans a voice. And the veteran that we're giving a voice to right now is David Pere. He is a YouTuber. He has a website. He's got all these things. His Military to Millionaire. I always stumble upon that, but I don't know why. But yeah, we're just happy to have him. We're just talking about his journey to financial independence from active duty. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, so obviously you're big on real estate investment, but I was curious to see what you would say to an aspiring entrepreneur who may be a military veteran transitioning out, or I guess even active duty. One of my prior guests is an entrepreneur and he's active duty. So it doesn't have to be when you get out. So what are some tips and tricks that you would give to any military member or veteran who is trying to become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, obviously all tactical advice is going to be dependent on strategy and business model and what niche and all that stuff. But, the biggest piece of advice I'd probably give anyone is it's going to be a slog at first.
Mm-hmm.
I always joke that vets are uniquely positioned to be entrepreneurs because of all the BS we do in the military. And people are like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, when you stood duty for 24 hours, you didn't get any extra pay. When you got sent to the armory at 3 a.m., you didn't get extra pay for those early hours. When you worked on a Saturday because some schmuckatelli got a DUI, you didn't, But now you're working those extra hours for your dream. And most people give up as soon as they realize that you're going to start off in the BMW phase, which is below minimum wage. You're going to work your ass off and you're not going to be getting paid for it at first. Anything you start is like that. I'm launching a local podcast this next month, and I'm recording my first few episodes, and I'm fully aware that I will probably not get any views on those first few videos or podcasts. And that is fine because it's the long game. And so I would tell people that it's going to be a slog at first. Be ready for it. Make sure you can weather the storm. And if you don't give up, you'll be okay. Then all the cliche stuff, like really dig into what your niche is, your offer, what makes you unique, focus on marketing, focus on providing value and giving value before you focus on receiving money. Like really make sure that, what you're bringing to market or how you're serving the market is what your audience wants and needs, marketing to that avatar directly and providing that avatar with as much value as humanly possible. And then don't quit. And, you'll be all right.
Nice. Okay. Well, one thing I was curious about, and maybe this is just me, projecting my own personal stuff that I'm going through now, but like, what kind of advice would you give when it comes to business funding? Like if you're an entrepreneur, you're starting out, you don't have, you don't have business credit, but you need, like where would you, because obviously, but business costs money. So is there anything that you would recommend for veterans to kind of help them get into the, like help them entrepreneurially in that sense, in the finance sense?
Yeah. I mean, obviously if you're buying a business, if you're acquiring a business, there's a lot of resources. There's SBA loans and there's business loans, there's local banks, there's credit unions, and they'll all play ball with you. Same with franchising. They make it a lot easier because you're buying an existing business model. If you are building yourself, the odds are you're going to need to bootstrap or give up something you probably don't want to give up. So I would encourage you to be able to bootstrap as long as possible, because you would much rather be like Sarah Blakely, who became a billionaire through Spanx and owned 100% of Spanx. She never sold a piece, than to end up, selling off 30-40% of your business to an investor. And then it becomes wildly successful and you gave away $300 or $400 million worth of valuation.
Wow.
On day one. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think, you may not have funding. There's not a lot of banks that I know of that'll fund a brand new startup idea unless it's a franchise or you're buying a business. You can go to friends and family. you can do a loan, but I wouldn't do an equity loan unless it's like a small equity kicker. I would not give up your majority. I wouldn't give up equity unless you have to. I would do a profit share model or things like that to align employees or potential investors more so than equity. And I think that would probably be my thought, is like you can get very creative with it, but you're either going to need your own capital bootstrap, you're going to be working a slow roll, which is what I did.
Mhm.
A ton of free content with as little expenses as possible, or you're going to need to find money from somebody, and in that case try to do it without giving up much equity.
Yeah. Okay. So in your journey in entrepreneurship, what are some of the, maybe some of the, you look back on them, there were blunders, like things that you made mistakes on, which I know everyone does, but I'm just curious, like what was your most impactful blunder where you actually learned a big lesson from that?
Yeah, I mean, I've got two that always pop to mind right away. The first was I tried to go too big, too fast, too soon.
Yeah.
And I was set on trying to hit 50 units in a year acquiring. So I bought a property that was like 40 doors and it was mixed use. And I just never should have bought it. If I'd been playing the conservative game instead of the look how many doors I can buy game, I wouldn't have. And that property, unfortunately for me, was a guy running a lease option scam. And it took 4 years of litigation to get my money back. And I got my money back plus interest. It was like whatever the IRS rate is, like 4%, return. But still, it was 4 years of time and hard lessons and everything else for nothing. I mean, I didn't have a building to show for it. I didn't have a ton of cash flow to show for it. Ton of valuable lessons. The other one, I used a contractor that I'd never used before on a long distance flip. And I didn't have the right oversight and he robbed me blind.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it wasn't terrible, but I basically lost 30 grand. And, those weren't exactly easy things to come by.
Sure.
But, on a military salary, 30 grand goes a long way. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So on the flip side of that, what are some of your biggest decisions that you made, and maybe in hindsight too, but or just in general, that you felt like were really, really great decisions and they've just taken things off for you?
honestly, betting on myself. I most of my I don't want to trying to say this in a way that just doesn't discourage people. While some of my best decisions have involved hiring, most of my biggest whoopsies have involved other people, whether that's the other party on the as the contractor, the other party on the lease option, or if it's somebody I never should have partnered with, or somebody I never should have hired. Some of my biggest lessons have been, hiring the wrong people or partnering with the wrong people or working with the wrong people. And so I guess I've just kind of learned, like, the more I trust my gut and lean into what I believe is the right direction, the better things seem to work out.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because ultimately, especially as a business owner, you are the commander. You're the general. You're the one in charge, and you call the shots, and you have full say in your. I mean, especially as a solopreneur starting out by yourself. But then, yeah, I guess I can see that being challenging whenever you start introducing other people into the fold, because you really have to trust them and you really have to be on the same page, and like really find that's got to be tough to find and really vet those people. But obviously that's going to be a trial and error process to some extent, because when you're hiring somebody, you really just don't know exactly what you might be getting into. So yeah, that's it's really interesting to hear, and I appreciate you sharing that.
Of course.
Yeah. So while we're talking about like big wins, I know you've got the war room, and I'd like to talk about that a little bit. But I was curious. Well, I guess yeah. If you would just kind of give a brief description of the War Room for the audience.
Yeah, the War Room's my baby. It's the crown jewel of the community. So it was started because I'd been in a couple different masterminds and they'd been huge for me. And I wanted to create something different. So I wanted to create a mastermind group that was only open to service members and vets. And started to realize I had a community that I could pull from and I could build it that way. And that's what we did. Been a lot of lessons learned, a lot of hard work. Yeah, I got something in my eye. Oh, I don't know what that was. Gnat or something. Who knows? The War Room is a mastermind group. We do 2 calls a week. We do squad accountability calls. We, as a third call, so small group accountability calls. We bring in guest speakers. As soon as we get done tonight, I'm going to be running an office hours presentation where I do kind of like an Ask Me Anything group mentoring session. And, it really is a community we've got 365 vets right now, service members and vets that are serious about achieving financial freedom. We've got 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs. We've got opening level, like interested in buying their first property. And basically we built out a community of people who are serious about chasing their goals, where we're going to help them achieve their goals. And so there's tons of educational resources, but more importantly, there's the network. There's the people who are in your market or in your similar niche who are doing the same thing and will help you out. And it's super cool to watch.
Yeah. It sounds really cool because it's like a mentorship thing where it's like you have people helping, the more experienced people are helping the less experienced people, and it's kind of giving back, and it's that sense of community. So it sounds really cool. And I'll go ahead and just put it out there that I decided to join the War Room, and I'm excited about that. Really pumped.
Glad to have you both.
But yeah, so that's really exciting. So yeah, actually, whenever we'll have to take another break here in a second, but when we get back, I'd like to talk. I would like to kind of ask you some questions about from some of your success stories with the War Room. So when we
Absolutely.
come back, we'll talk about that. All right, just one more from Noah Peterson. We have another banger. He calls it a jazz. I forget what he called it, but yeah, it's a good song. So here we go.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Hello, welcome back. We are here with David Pere. This is Money in the Military. My name is Joey. I'm a certified financial social worker and also known as the fire social worker. And here with David, we're talking about his military to millionaire. Gosh, I'm gonna get that someday. His platform. We're talking about the War Room, and just if you could, I would like to just kind of hear maybe some of your success stories, maybe some of the like just the, maybe not even just the numbers things, but just like some stories of people's lives that have been changed during this war room.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, oh man, it's funny because the reviews that I get or the feedback I get from people are incredible. Like, I guess one cool story is, you know, I was hosting a barbecue at my house when I lived in San Diego, and I had a couple members over there, and my buddy Donnie, my buddy Adit, we're talking, and I let them know. I don't even remember how the conversation came up, but essentially they left that, barbecue with a plan to combine their VA entitlement. One of them had income but no entitlement. The other had entitlement but no income. He had income, but it was commission based, and he hadn't had it for 2 years, so he couldn't use it for debt to income. And they bought a triplex in San Diego County together to house hack. And then, oddly enough, because of the pandemic, they couldn't evict the tenant who was supposed to move out so they could occupy. Wouldn't move out. They couldn't evict. It was this whole weird situation. They ended up being able to just sell it and wipe their hands like 7 months later, because they were like,
Wow.
well, we can't live here, so we need to find something else. And they turned a $350,000 profit in less than a year on a zero down VA loan.
Wow.
So that one's pretty cool.
Yeah.
More recently, this was a long time coming. Probably about March or April last year, somebody dropped in the Facebook group that there was a off-market hotel, and they liked it, but they didn't know anything about hotels. So I tagged another member who does hotel purchasing, and he took it under contract. It's 130 keys in Townsend, Tennessee, right outside Smoky Mountain National Park. 130-door hotel with 3 pools, 2 hot tubs, and a wedding venue.
Wow.
Eight buildings on like 12 acres or something like that. Super cool. And they took it under contract. Then they were needing some extra help raising capital, so I came in to help raise capital. We raised probably 4.4 million for this deal to take it down. And
Wow.
I'd say 2.5 or 3 of that was raised through members of the war room, or members of the war room helping bring capital in. So the deal was found by a member, contracted by a member, raised for by a member. It's operated by a member, and it's probably got like 10 different investors in it that are in the war room. So I love that one, because it's like the purpose of the war room was never for people to come in and invest together. It was for education and content and accountability and whatever. And I never want to promise anyone, if you join, we're going to just throw deals your way, or you're going to be able to partner with people. But it happens so much. Like, it's crazy to me that I don't even know, like, I'll be casually talking to someone, and he's like, oh yeah, so-and-so lent me $100,000. I flipped this house. I made this, he made that. And I'm like, oh, I had no idea that was going on. Like, every month it seems I'm finding deals that members are doing together. 3 of the members bought a golf course together.
Wow.
One of the guys he did his first real estate project outside of a home he lived in. Was he bought a vacant lot on the beach in Florida. Actually, yeah, I think it's still Florida. I don't think it was Alabama, but like that part, like the Panhandle, and built a house on it. Got the house appraised. He was like 1 million, 1.2 million all into this house. It appraised at like 2.7. So he pulled all of his money back, plus, like, I don't know, mid to upper 6 figures, and it cash flows as an Airbnb. And so he was able to do this deal. He had a lot of cash saved up over years and years of whatever, but it was still his first ever real estate transaction. Made him $1 million cash on the refi after the build was completed, and he still owns the property. It still cash flows. Now he's doing another deal. Like, just super cool. So I guess those are probably 3 that come to mind right away, but there's, tons of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it sounds like the community really is looking out for each other, because they know that there might be an opportunity. Because I think the cash flow thing is interesting, because you might have like 10,000 sitting around ready for in an opportunity, but somebody might have 50,000. So is that kind of how you do it? You're like, oh, I'll chip in 10 and I'll chip in 50, and then you kind of like take a percentage of that, or how does that work?
It's actually interesting. One of the things that makes the war room unique is that nobody solicits in the group. And so nobody goes and says, publicly, like, hey, I'm raising for this deal. If you want in, like, here's the
Okay.
details.
Yeah.
And we try to make it not that way. But just by nature, people start to see like, oh, I like this guy, I'm going to subscribe to his newsletter. I like this guy, and so I sent out emails talking about this deal, and I was just casually talking about it, and people were asking me, and then we'd bring them in. This one, it depends on the deal. Every deal is different. This one had a $50,000 minimum, but we did allow some of the members to invest 25, just because they were members. But it really just it depends. I mean, there are definitely deals where people will pull multiple people together in smaller amounts. It just depends on every operator. Personally, I would rather, from raising capital, I'd rather work with the guy that has $500,000 as the only investor than 50 people with $10,000. Or yeah, that's the right math. Because what happens is when you take, as an operator, when somebody invests the only $10,000 they have, or it's their first investment and it's 10,000 and they've never invested that before, that's the person who's going to want an update like every single week. They're going to want every detail about everything. If you breathe funny, if you're sick, like what's going on with the property. And the guy who cuts you a $500,000 check and has $10 million doesn't give a shit. Like you will never hear from him until you give him his money back. He'll be like, thanks, let's do it again. So, I'm not personally a huge fan of trying to raise in smaller amounts, but that's probably going to change. I'm looking at launching a fund where people in the community can actually invest directly in the fund, and then I'll be able to pay them a return and go invest it in different deals. Still working through the logistics on that, but if I end up going that route, I'll open it up to smaller investments as a way for members of the community to get a return that's better than a savings account.
Right. That's awesome. You actually have a retreat coming up, right? And that's in San Diego, or no?
It is, yeah.
It is,
October
okay.
24th to the 27th. We open it up to War Room members only. We do them twice a year. Earlier this year was in Keystone. Last year we did Tampa. The year before Springfield. And then this one's in San Diego. We haven't planned out the winter event yet, but we will get on that. But this one in San Diego is going to be, it's going to be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're going to do a yacht night on Friday night. We'll have a couple guest speakers flying in. It's going to be a good time.
Nice. That's pretty exciting. Well, you said that was when?
That one is the 24th to the 27th of October.
October. Okay. Cool. Well, if you're interested in joining the War Room and having an awesome trip, so actually, what does the retreat usually entail? I know you got a pretty sweet Airbnb out there, but like, what do you, other than the speakers and stuff, what do you guys usually do?
Yeah, I mean, we try to fill in like fun activities and speaking like 50-50. If we do presentations and everything the whole time, you just get exhausted. And so we'll probably have 5 or 6 presentations, one of which will be, I always start off with a exercise where we do what I call our kill card, which is basically like a whole life picture of like where you're at right now and what your goals are. And then you go around and I'll break you into groups of like 5 or 6, and you'll get 10 minutes to give your kill card pitch and 10 minutes for everybody to give you feedback. The example I always use when I walk through people through that exercise is I was at a table once and a guy was talking about how he wanted to be at every one of his son's games, when he got in when he was in the family life section, but when he was in the business section, he's talking about how he wants to be a billionaire. And it was like, bro, something's got to give. Like, I'm sorry, you're not going to build $1 billion business and never miss a baseball game. That's one of them is slip. So which one's the real priority here? It doesn't matter. Like, if the billionaire thing is the billionaire thing and you're going to make 50% of the baseball games, like, okay, you're going to make every game and you're never going to be a billionaire. Okay. Doesn't matter to me, but like, be realistic about your expectations. And so, we do that. We'll have the presentation. We'll do this one. We're going to do a yacht party. I think we've got a hike built into one morning. And then another day, I think we're going to go to the beach and do normal beach activities. And then on the last day, we're going to tour some properties. One of the members has 3 or 4 projects out there himself. And then we got another person who does. And we'll tour some Man, I'm fighting off that yawn. I hope I think I'm coming down with something. I've been
Oh,
sluggish all day, and I don't know why. And so one of the we'll go and walk different projects that are going on and talk through the numbers and talk through the project and help people understand, hey, this is an opportunity in this market. And then when we go to a different market, hey, this is what an opportunity here looks like. And in Keystone, it was like snowboard or ski every morning, and then presentations in the evening. This one will be more like hiking or swimming or yacht or whatever, and then presentations in the evening. But
okay. Yeah.
it's a good time.
That sounds like a good time. So yeah, if you're in the war room, or if you're thinking about joining the war room, then book October off your schedule so you can go.
Yeah, we're more than 50% sold out. So
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. All right. Well, we're gonna take, I guess, another quick break. And then when we come back, I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about your future plans. I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but I'm curious to kind of pick your brain about what is, the vision and the ultimate big picture goals for you in the future. So,
absolutely.
yeah. So stand by 1 second, and then this is going to be an ad for Crete events. We'll try it out. All right.
I think of me before the war, but that 24-year-old is just a shadow on the floor. I've lived and died in hell 8 times. I'm gonna take this last one and bring it to the light. No one sees the struggle behind the walls of war. Signs say all are welcome, but we can't get through the door. Tell me why no one hears the things we say. Tell me why you just choose to look away. Always still for what's right, when what's right isn't just fighting for a country that won't stand up for us. Sometimes I feel like giving up. Lay down the dreams I got and let them turn to dust. But I still got fire left in my blood. No soldier should be left behind or feel like there ain't enough. Tell me why we gotta beg for you to change. Tell me why you ignore the 88. Always still for what's right, when what's right isn't just fighting for a country that won't stand up for us. Oh, we lay down our lives, and you can't do what's just. Tell me why we gotta beg for you to change. Tell me why you ignore the 88. Tell me why no one hears the things we say. Tell me why you just choose to look away. Always do for what's right, when what's right isn't just fighting for a country that won't stand up for us. Tell me why, tell me why, tell me why, tell me why, tell me why. Just stand up for us. Just stand up for us.
opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
I like how you got like a British voiceover person.
Yeah. So actually, Joel, the head honcho at the MBR, he told me that that's actually the voice of Ed Sheeran. It's like some kind of AI AI thing. I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not, but apparently that's Ed Sheeran's voice.
Cool.
AI generated, but yeah. So yeah, we're back with David Pere. This is Money in the Military on MBR, giving veterans a voice. And speaking of veterans, and I referenced a military veteran who had been on the show on the MBR platform, and I actually reached out to on a veterans Facebook group for some musicians, veteran musicians, to basically come to MBR. Like, we want to feature your music. I got a lot of really good interest in that post, and starting to get some feelers out there for trying to funnel musicians to come to us and have us feature your music. So if you're a veteran musician, hit us up at MBR, mbradio.us, and yeah, we'll share your music. We'll even I'll interview you, or some of our other hosts can interview you. So just something that I was thinking about today, and I really wanted to I'm trying to build my own. So we have a little collection of music that we can pull from. So I'm trying to collect music that I like, that I really enjoy. So part of it is selfish in my own desire to get music, but I also want to feature veterans. So if you're a veteran and you're listening and you're a musician, then come find me. I'm all over the socials. So all right, that's what we had. That's just a little public service announcement. But so I guess, yeah, before the break, we were talking about I've already lost my train of thought. But anyways, we were talking. I just wanted to ask you about the horizon. What's on the horizon for you, and just what are your grand visions and your grand goals for all of this? When do you think you'll actually pull back and say, you know what, I think I'm done. I think I'm time to pull chalks and say, you know what, this is good. Or do you think that you might ever reach that point?
I don't know if I'll ever reach that point. Not anytime soon. I still love what I'm doing. I still love what I'm building. I think it's more likely that I'll hand more of it off, so I have less of a time involvement and can focus on a new project, than that it is that I'll shut the project down. And even then, I'd still be on the calls, and I'd still, I've been hiring the team out and scaling the team. We've got 5 or 6 team members now, and not all full time, but it's been good. My long-term goal is to help 10,000 vets achieve financial freedom. My 3-year goal is to have 1,000 people on the financial freedom wall within our group, which means, I need to have at least 1,000 members in the group, but probably close to double that. The goal is just to help.
Sorry, can you elaborate on the freedom wall, or the financial freedom wall?
I am just launching a new website for the War Room. It will hopefully be out tomorrow or this weekend. We're going to get rid of, we use this platform called Circle right now. We'll get rid of that, and we'll have our own WordPress site. And on the front side of that will be basically 3 pages, like an About Us, a Freedom Wall, and the Command Center. The Command Center will take you into the back end of the website for all the members. The About Us is just information for people who aren't members and are curious. Mm-hmm. And the Freedom Wall will be front facing, but it'll be like in your membership portal. Basically, there's a button you can check that says I've hit financial freedom. And then if you do that, it'll populate your name, photo, and just a button that says, David Pere has achieved financial freedom, and you'll just pop up on the wall. And my hope there is that we can reward, give awards for that. We can also give awards for you know, other things within the community, but essentially that'll be a bigger like motivating factor for people when they're thinking about, do I want to be in this community? And they see like, oh shit, like 300 people that are in this community have achieved financial freedom.
Mhm.
And we struggled back and forth forever on what financial freedom was. I was like, well, we can just tell them if they're financially free. If they make more expenses, then yes. But then I realized like there are people out there who make 20,000 in passive income. They spend 22 and they have a job, and they wouldn't consider themselves financially free. So I just Googled what is the average income in the US, and it said 60,000. I said, great. From now on, anyone who hits 5,000 a month in passive income for our purposes will count as financially free, because you could essentially replace anybody's given salary as you average it out across the US. And obviously that's going to be different for different folks, but I was like, look, if you've hit this mark, good enough by me, because it means if all else failed, you
Yeah.
could move to a little town in the Midwest and live a perfectly fine life.
Yeah.
And, that's what I think matters. It's not, does it matter that you can afford a Lamborghini on your passive income?
Mhm.
No, it matters that
Mhm.
you can go and spend time with your kids. So
Yeah. Yeah, and that gets into the heart of financial freedom and in general, like what does that mean? It's a very personal thing. So I mean, yeah, there's going to be metrics that like society puts out there, like, oh, a millionaire is like, like the peak or the first milestone. But yeah, I like the idea of creating a financial, a financial vision that suits you, like that's aligns with your lifestyle, your because not everyone wants to go travel and travel the world, but some people do. So I really like that, you're giving people you're giving them the opportunity that and the chance to chase after their dreams, whatever that may be, so I really resonate with that, and that vision. So as far as like your progress, where are you standing right now with your goals? I'm just curious.
well, we've got 360. Actually, we had 2 join yesterday. Probably like 368 members in the war room. We're scaling fairly quickly right now. For the first time ever, I started running ads and webinars, and to try to attract the right people and grow the platform. But to tell you the truth, I couldn't tell you how many of those have achieved financial freedom, because I didn't have a metric and I didn't have a way for them to showcase it. I can speculate, off the top of my head, I'd guess we're going to be somewhere around 100
Okay.
that'll check the box out of the 300. It may be more than that. It may be less than that. I don't know. On my team, I can tell you that 2 of the 5 were able to check the box. Well, actually, I can't tell you that because the 5th one hasn't filled out his thingy yet. So 2 of the 4 that have completed it are
Yeah.
successful. I don't know if the 5th one, this is where we're going to get weird about it, because the 5th one
Yeah.
is like, he makes that amount, but he's also building his own tech company. So he's probably going to be like, no, I'm not there yet. But I'm going to be
Yeah.
like, dude, you've got to click the button, because
Click
you
the
make
button.
amount.
Yeah.
That's why we set the standard. Click
Right.
the stupid button, and if you don't believe it, then chase more. But for our
Yeah.
purposes, click the button.
Yeah. That's cool.
So we'll see.
Oh man. Well, yeah, I guess that is kind of interesting because, like you said, one person's financial freedom is really another person's just check mark. Like a milestone for them, because they're always climbing and looking for the next milestone, which is fine. But it's really going to be a personal thing. Yeah.
Yeah, if you live in California or Miami or New York or whatever,
Right.
you're going to
Yeah.
look at me like I'm an idiot when I tell you $5,000 equals.
Right.
But if you live
Yeah.
here, where I live, the
Yeah.
median income is $46,000. So
Oh,
you make
wow.
$60,000 a year passively, you're living just fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Well, man, this has been a great conversation. So we got a few more minutes left, and I know you got something. You're a busy guy, so you got something right after this. But yeah, so you have this platform. I want to treat this like the Hot Ones episodes, where you've made it through the gauntlet. And obviously we've talked about your stuff a little bit, but like you have this platform. What is your message to the military community? What is your I guess if you're going to mentor the whole military community right now, what would you say?
I'm going to give the same piece of advice I've been given for the whole year. Filter the advice you receive through the lens of, has this person achieved what I want to achieve in life in this specific area? And so, I always expound upon that and say, long, short, your mother loves you, but if you wanted to become the best UFC fighter in the world, you're going to go hire Ray Longo as a striking coach or Matt Serra as a jiu-jitsu coach. You're not going to hire your mom.
Right.
But yet, for whatever reason, when we get into real estate investing or whatever, you tell your parents you're getting into investing, they try to talk you out of it, and you listen, even if they don't own any properties.
Right.
They still have your best interest at heart, but they're not the expert.
Yeah.
So go find the expert, find the person who lives the life you want to live, and ask them for advice, or at least listen when they're talking. Weigh it. And if that person is rich as all get out from real estate and has a terrible home life, then listen to his real estate advice and not his finance or his relationship advice.
Yeah.
You just have to filter. That lens is so important when you're listening to people, because I get people all the time trying to give me, whether solicited or not, advice or feedback, and I'm like, the better I've gotten at saying in one ear out one ear with the other, or with this guy in this specific topic, the easier things have become.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I'm trying to honestly do that with you. Like I'm trying to put myself in those situations, those circles, so that I can learn from everybody. And I'm just honored to be a part of that community, and hopefully, do some cool things with that. And just wanted to once again say thank you for jumping on this stream. Thank you for the audience members who've chimed in. We've had a few comments come in. So thank you for the support. And basically that's the show. If you guys, how could we get in touch with you? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
I got a link. It is easy to remember. It is thebestpodcastguest.com. And that'll take you to a landing page. It's got all my social media, and it's got a link to download a free copy of my book.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'll put that in the show notes. And that's pretty much the show for us. Thank you once again, David Pere. Thank you for MBR for putting on this platform. And we'll catch you guys on the next stream.
Joey, thanks for having me on, brother. Look forward to getting to know you more in the war room.
All right. Sounds good. We'll see you then.
That's the show for today, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with an all-new show. And remember, you can listen to us again and again. The podcast of this radio show is available right after we go off the air tonight, anywhere that you can get your podcast episodes. And thanks for joining us today. I'd like to take a moment to talk about something close to my heart. Military Broadcast Radio is doing incredible work to support our veterans and bring their voices to the world. They rely on your generous donations and your dedicated volunteer hours to make it happen. I encourage you to consider supporting NBR in any way, form that you can. Use this QR code that's attached to the picture, or you can go to our website at mbradio.us. That's Mike Bravo Radio.us to learn more about how you can donate or volunteer even just an hour a week from your home. Help make a difference in the lives of our veterans, because once again, we're all here for you and not for us. We're giving our veterans a voice.